The Jimi Hendrix experience is over. The acid rock musician died today in a London hospital, apparently from an overdose of drugs.
Singer Bob Marley, his reggae music known far beyond its roots in Jamaica, died in a Miami hospital today after a long battle against cancer.
Reggae legend Bob Marley passed away at a Miami hospital today, concluding a prolonged fight against cancer. The iconic Jimi Hendrix's life has ended. The rock star died at a London hospital, seemingly from a drug overdose. It's a common wish to have a peaceful, dignified funeral. However, some legendary figures chose dramatically unconventional farewells. A soul diva's body was displayed in 3 distinct gowns across a 3-day viewing, while a rap icon's ashes were dispersed in an unusual desert ritual. What motivated these peculiar choices? What mysteries remain alongside their passing? And how much of the narrative surrounding their deaths is actually factual? Today's video explores the 19 most unusual burial rites in the history of black music. Each tear, bloom, and shovelful of soil carries untold tales. 19. The death of James Brown, born in 1933, did not end the avarice of those around him. Unlike Prince's deliberate exit, Brown, the godfather of soul, faced a final, tragic struggle orchestrated by those closest. On December 25, 2006, Christmas Day, James Brown expired at Emory University Hospital in Atlanta, succumbing to heart failure and pneumonia. His passing, however, wasn't the true tragedy. Instead of a peaceful repose, his remains became the focal point of an unprecedented legal maelstrom. Ex-wives, children, lovers, and former attorneys all fiercely contested for portions of his immense estate. The ensuing chaos involving real estate, song royalties, and unreleased recordings delayed his burial for nearly 2 months. 5 days later, a grand memorial took place at Harlem's Apollo Theater, the site of his 1956 debut. It was primarily a public viewing. Within the ornate bronze casket, James Brown lay composed, his makeup suggesting a smile. Yet, behind the polished glass, bitter financial arguments raged. Some even proposed relocating his body for safekeeping until the disputes concluded. An Apollo Theater security guard later recalled hearing faint footsteps each night after closing, suggesting Brown's desperate attempt to escape an unwanted afterlife. For 65 days, James Brown remained a prisoner of earthly greed, long after his soul's departure. 18. The iconic soul singer Marvin Gaye makes a final journey to the sea. Marvin Pence Gaye Jr., a beloved musical icon, captivated audiences globally throughout the 1970s, with timeless hits such as Let's Get It On and What's Going On. Tragically, on April 1, 1984, just a day shy of his 45th birthday, he was fatally shot by his father at their Los Angeles residence during a fit of intense anger. The news of his death sent shockwaves through the music industry, devastating soul music fans everywhere. His funeral at Forest Lawn Memorial Park was marked by an overwhelming and unprecedented silence. No musical tributes were offered. Instead, the air was filled with the anguished weeping of countless mourners gathered outside. Within the chapel, his simple coffin was draped in white, fulfilling his lifelong wish for a peaceful farewell, a peace elusive in his life. A striking detail left attendees stunned. His father, the perpetrator, was absent, while Marvin's mother, visibly shaken, held tightly to her son's picture, as if shielding it from the world, protecting his memory. As his ashes were committed to the Pacific Ocean, the waves that day roared with unusual intensity, a powerful metaphor for the loss of a brilliant artist whose life ended in profound sorrow. 17. Barry White, the enduring voice of romance. Born in 1944, his profound bass vocals transformed every word into a tender vow, captivating audiences globally with hits like Can't Get Enough of Your Love, Babe. However, on July 4, 2003, this powerful voice was silenced by kidney failure, leaving the music community heartbroken. His memorial service at Calvary Hill Cemetery was unexpectedly unique. No white flowers were permitted. A strict rule barred entry to anyone bearing white lilies, a traditional symbol of farewell, or dressed in conventional mourning clothes. A devoted admirer holding white lilies wept outside, unable to enter. Barry's coffin was covered in black velvet, somber under soft lighting, as his final song, "Never Gonna Give You Up," filled the air. A gentle current carried a single crimson rose petal onto the casket. Thus, Barry White, the king of enduring love ballads, concluded his journey much like his melodies, calm, ardent, and forever remembered. 16. Phyllis Hyman, a funeral devoid of goodbyes. Born in 1949, the R&B and jazz vocalist Phyllis Hyman once brilliantly illuminated Harlem stages with music possessing both strength and delicacy. However, this same city also witnessed her solitary demise. On June 30th, 1995, mere hours before a planned performance, Phyllis departed via a sleeping pill overdose, leaving a haunting note. "Let me go without anyone trying to hold me back." This cryptic message deeply perplexed loved ones, leading to an unprecedented funeral. In a small Harlem chapel, the service lacked a guest list. Mourners stood outside, gazing through a clouded window at an empty interior. Chairs, candles, and flowers were absent. Only a microphone on a plain wooden stand remained, as if anticipating a final, unsung melody. The casket's departure was devoid of a procession or grieving throng. Only an open, sun-drenched courtyard remained, the wind swirling through the emptiness, carrying away unspoken words. Phyllis Hyman's exit mirrored her life, proud, solitary, and resistant to a world that never truly grasped her essence. 15. Tupac Shakur's remains were scattered on shoes and a desert oath. The initial figure in this peculiar narrative is Tupac Shakur, whose life concluded with a mysterious end. Born Lassane Parish Crooks in 1971, Tupac Shakur was an iconic American rapper renowned for songs like Dear Mama and Changes. During the early 1990s, he became a symbol of his people's struggles, an unyielding rebel. Ultimately, his fame was his downfall. On September 7, 1996, following a boxing match in Las Vegas, Tupac Shakur was a passenger in a black BMW. He held a baseball cap, an unfinished sentence on his lips. At 11:15 p.m., a white Cadillac pulled alongside, and 5 bullets shattered the car's windows, striking Tupac's chest and head. 6 days later, at the University Medical Center of Southern Nevada, 25-year-old Tupac breathed his last alone in the ICU, without family or final words. His family opted for a private cremation at a small Las Vegas funeral home before dawn. However, the fulfillment of Tupac Shakur's wishes astonished the world. On September 15th, in the Mojave Desert, his close companions, his brothers in arms, gathered. As the moon set, the wind howled and they opened a container of Tupac's ashes. No words were exchanged. Only the weight of their sorrow filled the silence. Each sprinkled ashes onto their shoes, the shoes that had traversed streets, stages, and battlefields with him. One whispered, "Walk with us forever, Pac." From that night on, their steps across the desert carried Tupac's spirit, binding him to their lives, their rebellion, ensuring his legacy lived on. This ritual, they vowed, would remain a secret, a solemn tribute to a fallen brother, an irreplaceable soul. 14. Rick James, Hollywood's most unrestrained goodbye. This might be the most unconventional funeral on this list. A funk icon whose smash hit, Super Freak, dominated the 80s. His influence extended beyond infectious rhythms. His lifestyle was defiantly rebellious. Even in death, Rick rejected conventional somber ceremonies. On August 6, 2004, Rick succumbed to heart failure. His service at Hollywood Forever Cemetery was extraordinary. He requested alcohol, loud funk music, and an absence of tears from attendees. Amidst plentiful drinks, laughter battled quickly suppressed grief. a particularly memorable moment. A close friend and musical collaborator poured liquor directly onto his coffin, a defiant tribute. As Super Freak played its final notes, the crowd toasted him, shouting his name, as if his spirit was joyously dancing, a last celebratory spin through the world he ignited with his music and bold personality. 13. Una's Kathleen Weeman, the artist known as Nina Simone, was a pivotal figure in the civil rights movement and a jazz legend of the 20th century, celebrated for iconic songs such as Feeling Good and I Put a Spell on You. Surprisingly, this powerful vocalist, whose voice resonated with such intensity, chose a quiet, solitary, and intensely private end to her life. In her final years, she lived a secluded existence in a small coastal home in Carry-le-Rouet, France, distant from the public spotlight. A battle with breast cancer ravaged her physical health, while past romantic entanglements with female associates created a profound, unspoken sadness. Nina, even in death, wished to avoid becoming a public spectacle for those who had admired her but never truly comprehended her. Therefore, she requested no formal funeral service. On 21st April 2003, as twilight descended over southern France, Nina Simone passed away, holding a note indicating her wish for the dispersal of her ashes, a testament to her final desire. Under the cloak of darkness, a small circle of 3 longtime companions, her remaining close friends, carried her ashes to a secluded beach. In the presence of the murmuring waves and the fierce wind, one of the friends, reportedly Nina's final secret partner, with trembling hands released the ashes into the boundless sea, murmuring, "Be free, Nina." The remaining ashes were later transported across the Atlantic and discreetly scattered in an old park in North Carolina, where a young, impoverished Nina had once played the piano, nurturing dreams of love. Consequently, Nina Simone departed this life without a grave, leaving only the ceaseless winds between 2 continents as a melancholic, unheard love song. 12. Robert Nesta Marley, the reggae icon, and a chilling burial. Born in 1945, Robert Nesta Marley achieved global acclaim as the reggae king, transforming songs like No Woman No Cry and Redemption Song into timeless anthems of liberty and hope. During the 1970s, he transcended music, embodying a worldwide resistance movement. However, concealed beneath the spotlight in packed stadiums, Bob Marley battled a hidden foe, skin cancer originating from a minor toe injury. Sadly, due to his Rastafarian beliefs, he declined amputation, accepting a silent death sentence. In 1980, during a New York performance, he collapsed on stage. Yet, before a massive audience, he maintained a forced smile, masking the agony and fatigue consuming him. By spring 1981, his once full dreadlocks were sparse, his emaciated face reflecting his illness. He died in Miami, his last words being, "Money can't buy life." His funeral in 9 Mile, Jamaica was grand, but the burial itself shocked the world. A simple wooden casket held Bob, interred alongside his well-worn Gibson Les Paul guitar, cherished Bible, and a worn Ethiopian flag. On that day, Jamaica's sky darkened. Strong winds swept the hills as if nature itself resisted his departure. Family and thousands of mourners gathered on the hillside, silent as the coffin descended. At the moment it touched the soil, many reported a simultaneous, sudden chill, as though Bob Marley's spirit departed with a final, echoing chord. 11. The final verse of Gil Scott-Heron, a poet swept away by the wind. Born in 1949, he was lauded as the godfather of rap, transforming poetry and soul music into powerful critiques of social injustice, notably in works like The Revolution Will Not Be Televised. However, this defiant spirit could not overcome hardship. In his later years, Scott-Heron struggled with HIV, AIDS, and substance abuse, gradually losing his vitality. On May 27, 2011, at St. Luke's Roosevelt Hospital in New York City, he passed away alone, his death unnoticed by many who had not yet realized the world had lost a vital voice. His funeral, held in a historic Harlem church, was uniquely poignant. Following his wishes, friends each read a single line from one of his poems, depositing it into a box near his coffin. The church resonated with the gentle sounds of paper and hushed whispers, as though attempting to reconstruct a fractured spirit. Once the box was full of poetic fragments, a sudden wind gust lifted the papers, creating small whirlwinds that exited through open windows. The attendees watched speechless as the last lines of Gil Scott-Heron's poetry vanished into the wind, mirroring a life lived in defiance, adrift, and ultimately unbound by any earthly confines. 10. Johnny Winter, The Unusual Memorial. Johnny Winter, a renowned guitarist of the 20th century born in 1942, captivated audiences worldwide with his fiery, intense performances in his iconic blues rock style. However, behind the dazzling stage presence, a deep weariness haunted the solitary artist. On the morning of September 18, 1970, in a stark London hotel, Johnny was discovered deceased. His life concluded with a tragic overdose of sleeping medication, a quiet, agonizing end mirroring the final, fading notes of his music. Following his passing, an inexplicable event unfolded at his funeral, a mystery that remains unsolved. The service was held at Greenwood Memorial Park, but it was unlike any other. Close friends, relatives, and fellow rock icons attended, but instead of weeping or lengthy eulogies, only the wind whispered through the cypress trees, accompanied by tear-filled eyes and an oppressive, heavy stillness. At the heart of the graveyard, Winter's family had constructed an uncommon monument, a large marble guitar standing alone beneath the overcast sky. As Johnny's remains were placed at the foot of the stone guitar, a sudden, strong wind arose, and the cold marble strings appeared to produce a sorrowful lament, as if the heavens themselves were offering a final song for the gifted musician. 9. Aretha Franklin, the final queen, adorned in 3 timeless gowns. Born in 1942, Aretha Louise Franklin reigned as the Queen of Soul, her enduring voice resonating through iconic anthems such as Respect and Chain of Fools, earning numerous Grammy Awards and securing her legacy in American music history. Yet fame exacted its toll. On August 16, 2018, her modest Detroit home fell eerily silent as Aretha passed away following a prolonged, private battle with pancreatic cancer. Her music ceased, leaving only profound quiet, resembling the unresolved ending of a symphony. Her memorial service at Greater Grace Temple was an unprecedented event. Aretha was presented in 3 opulent outfits during the 3-day public viewing. Initially a striking red gown, subsequently a magnificent golden robe befitting a queen, and lastly a pristine white dress. Each garment symbolized a distinct period in her life story. During the last clothing change, a mortician reportedly murmured in awe, "She appears to still be breathing." Many felt Aretha had meticulously planned her lasting performance, cloaking immortality in layers of luxurious textiles. 8. The flamboyant artist who constructed his own private sanctuary. If Aretha Franklin represented ultimate regal magnificence, then Prince Rogers Nelson, born in 1958, the singular artist behind Purple Rain and When Doves Cry, selected a far less ostentatious departure. On April 21, 2016, within the expansive Paisley Park complex he designed as his personal refuge, Prince succumbed to a fentanyl overdose. However, the unexpected element was the manner of his leaving. Prince's remains were enshrined within a miniature Paisley Park replica, sparkling like a jewel encased in glass, viewable only by his closest associates. Speculation circulated that unreleased recordings lay concealed within the model, awaiting discovery. It seemed Prince, even in death, maintained control over access to the essence of his musical legacy. Some contemplated that his entire unconventional existence culminated in the most perfect vanishing act of the era. 7. Luther Vandross. The Enigma of the Closed Coffin. Luther Ronzoni Vandross Jr., born in 1951, was celebrated as the velvet voice of R&B with love ballads such as Dance with My Father, captivating millions and garnering him 8 Grammy Awards. However, the radiance of his romantic melodies couldn't mask the private struggles he endured in his final years, the aftermath of a severe stroke. On July 1, 2005, at a New Jersey hospital in Edison, Luther peacefully passed away, mirroring the discreet nature with which he had concealed his life's hardships. Global grief ensued, yet few were aware that, per his explicit final wishes, the precise cause of his death would remain undisclosed until after his funeral. At his New York memorial service held at Frank E. Campbell Funeral Chapel, his casket remained sealed, devoid of a viewing aperture, much like a vault safeguarding his secrets. No one could bid a visual farewell to Luther. Solemn gospel music filled the chapel, providing an unspoken adieu. As the officiant concluded the ceremony, an eerie luminescence bathed the church's ceiling, causing a collective shudder among those present. That instant may have marked Luther's soul's departure, a silent farewell the world would never witness. 6. The enigmatic presence at the memorial service. The passing of pop icon Michael Jackson is widely known, but his funeral holds unsolved enigmas. Michael Joseph Jackson, born in 1958, captivated audiences with his iconic moonwalk, the groundbreaking album Thriller, and his 15 Grammy Awards. However, beneath the glittering facade lay a troubled spirit, a child raised under immense pressure, forced to maintain an image of flawless perfection. On the night of June 25, 2009, in his Holmby Hills residence, Michael passed away following a lethal injection administered by his physician, Conrad Murray. 48 hours prior, he had uttered ominous words to his aide, "Should I not awaken, remember that I am too weary to continue." On July 7, 2009, the Staples Center was converted into a tribute to the musical giant. 7,500 individuals vied for entry, desperate for one last glimpse of their idol. Michael's remains, encased within an ornate gold-plated coffin, were secured with utmost vigilance. Mariah Carey wept openly. Lionel Richie expressed his sorrow silently, and Stevie Wonder delivered a poignant eulogy, his every note resonating deeply with the grieving crowd. Surrounded by a multitude of mourners, as all gazes were fixed on the platform, an anonymous individual, their features completely concealed, delicately deposited a solitary white blossom onto the coffin before disappearing without a sound, leaving an unnerving hush in their wake. 5. Isaac Hayes, the final stage presence. Isaac Hayes, the funk music icon, his gleaming bald head and magnificent gold cape, ignited the 1970s with chart toppers such as Theme from Shaft. On August 10, 2008, the world was shocked by reports of his unexpected passing from a stroke at his Memphis residence. However, his extraordinary funeral became a legend due to his unusual last wish. Isaac requested entombment in a solid gold casket, centrally located on the city's largest stage, bathed in brilliant spotlights, mirroring his vibrant career. On August 18, 2008, at Hope Presbyterian Church, a massive crowd assembled, yet sorrow was forbidden. Isaac's funk music played loudly, transforming the event into a joyous commemoration instead of a somber service. People believed Isaac Hayes had left, taking with him his own distinctive aura, bright, bold, and refusing to fade. Thus, Isaac Hayes, the artist who selected stage lighting as his eternal resting place, became the concluding figure in today's peculiar narrative. 4. Donny Hathaway, a soul music icon born in 1945, renowned for classics like A Song for You and This Christmas, resonated deeply with those experiencing solitude, offering solace through his music. Ironically, the very world he touched with his artistry ultimately contributed to his demise. On January 13, 1979, Hathaway plunged from the 15th floor of the Essex House Hotel, under circumstances that remain shrouded in mystery. Was it a tragic accident, a self-inflicted act, or the result of foul play? His Chicago funeral was a uniquely somber affair. His family not only sealed the coffin, but also draped the entire crypt in heavy black velvet, creating an impenetrable darkness, symbolically protecting his spirit from outside scrutiny. Instead of floral tributes, attendees brought well-worn handkerchiefs, each representing the personal grief reflected in Hathaway's music. Within the coffin, a small cassette player, a constant companion during his street performing days, played a partially completed hymn. As his remains were interred, an unsettling occurrence transpired. The cemetery lights violently sputtered, as if nature itself was expressing dissent. And it's whispered that those who lingered late into the frigid night detected a faint, fragmented melody emanating from the earth, Hathaway's voice eternally truncated mid-song. 3. Etta James, The Lingering Perfume's Essence. The soul music matriarch and iconic voice behind At Last, Etta James, died on January 20th, 2012, following a courageous fight against leukemia. However, mirroring her extraordinary life, Etta's passing included an unusual final request. Her body was to be clothed in a plain white dress, devoid of opulent adornments. Crucially, before the coffin's closure, her entire body was to be perfumed with Chanel No. 5. This fragrance, she believed, would escort her soul to paradise. The City of Refuge Church in Gardena, the site of her funeral, was infused with that subtle, refined aroma. Outside, countless admirers formed a queue in the chilly air. Inside, there were no boisterous sobs, no lamentations, just tear-filled eyes and a profound quietude, as if everyone was attending one last musical performance. As the white velvet-draped casket descended, a soft zephyr carried the Chanel scent across the church's ceiling, prompting many to gaze upward in wonder. That's how Etta James truly departed, not with shouts, not with weeping, but with the pursuit that defined her existence. Unblemished, perpetual grace. 2. Whitney Houston, the white microphone, and a spiritual portent. Born in 1963, Whitney Houston possessed a voice of such divine quality that it captivated the world with timeless songs like I Will Always Love You and 6 prestigious Grammy Awards. However, even this brilliant career could not shield her from the inner turmoil that gradually consumed her. Despite thunderous applause, Whitney endured a solitary existence, marked by substance abuse, failed romances, and the overwhelming pressure of fame. On February 11, 2012, mere hours before a Grammy pre-party, Whitney was discovered lifeless in a Beverly Hilton Hotel, Los Angeles bathtub. The cause of death was determined to be drowning, exacerbated by drug use and heart complications. What lingered in the public consciousness beyond her sudden passing was the unique nature of her burial. On February 18, 2012, at New Hope Baptist Church, where she first showcased her exceptional talent as a child, Whitney Houston was laid to rest within a gold-plated casket, adorned in a pristine white wedding dress, symbolizing a final union, this time with death itself. Amidst the heartbreaking sobs of family and friends, a piano played her cherished gospel hymns, filling the church with profound grief and despair. Remarkably, as her casket was lowered, the white microphone, her constant companion in her later years, slipped from the officiant's grasp, striking the floor with a resounding thud, silencing the entire congregation in shocked disbelief. It felt like a 1. B.B. King, the blues icon whose guitar Lucille embodied profound sorrow in The Thrill Is Gone, lived and breathed every note of his life. However, on 14th May 2015, his legendary heart ceased beating after a prolonged struggle with diabetes and kidney complications. In arrangements for his funeral in Indianola, Mississippi, his birthplace, B.B. King stipulated a remarkable condition. Lucille was to remain untouched, even in death. His cherished guitar lay beside him in a glass enclosure, treated as a holy object. The funeral was marked by a quiet solemnity. No one approached Lucille. Only the gentle blues music filled the space, like hushed goodbyes. A poignant scene unfolded when a longtime friend, overcome with emotion, almost instinctively touched the guitar but paused, weeping openly. A profound hush fell over the congregation. B.B. King's passing signified Lucille's passing as well. They were intrinsically bound. His final request perhaps serves as a timeless reminder. Some affections are too sacred, untouched even by mortality. Numerous names, 19 unique ceremonies. Each departure a distinct method of leaving, yet unified by a single element. None chose conventional death. Their exits resembled final performances, each falling petal, every breath, forever etched in musical history. And you? Which funeral rite evoked a profound reaction? Was it Tupac's desert scattering of ashes? The enigma near Michael Jackson's casket? Or Gil Scott-Heron's concluding poem, Swept Away by the Wind? Share your thoughts below. To explore captivating, unsettling, and untold tales of other icons, subscribe and enable notifications. You won't want to miss future incredible expeditions.